hut, hike.
Welcome to the Into the Wild podcast. It's me and Adil today running the show. Wase's out on leave. He's got vacation. He's got all that stuff before the NFL season really kicks off. We got to get it all out while we can, right?
We know how hard Wase works.
Yes.
He needs his time off before he jumps back in.
Yep. And we've got a great show for you today. A ton of news to get into. Plenty of extensions. Plenty of offseason drama. Suspensions. Legal pressings. Retirements. Rookies holding out. And of course, we have our Start Bench Cut. Today's a really special edition of Start Bench Cut and Would You Rather because it's the NFC South and it's Baker Mayfield, who's very near and dear to my heart. And then our Mount Rushmore is one season wonders. So we take a look at some of the most notorious flameouts in NFL history after having a great season. So without further ado, let's jump into the news. So we're going to start off talking about the audacity, Adil. The audacity of these rookies, man. Where does it come from?
You know where it comes from? It comes from the NIL. These kids are coming out of college, already have been making millions of dollars. What's a few extra days off of training camp going to do for them? It's okay. They're getting their bag. Go get what you need to do. It's becoming a player-run league, so I don't blame these guys at all. Especially since the precedence was already set. Jaden Higgins is showing out in Texas, and I think that's what's making everything so crazy. Now, these second rounders have high value. It's the thing that in the NFL where you can get good playing time out of these kids who are coming out of the second round. I think they're starting to notice that, and they know their worth as well. I don't mind these guys getting guaranteed contracts. I just think that with the nature of the NFL being so physical and practically having your career derailed by an injury or a freak accident, it's just how do you justify paying people guaranteed money and potentially not seeing them on the field? But
especially rookies that haven't proven a thing, right?
Well, then look at other leagues. I think the NHL might kind of follow suit in that they don't guarantee anything because of injuries, but at the NBA and the MLB, everything is guaranteed. The world is changing. Maybe these kids just know, hey, this might be it for me. This one contract might be it. Let me make it count. And $10 million is a lot of moolah. I'll do it, even if I never played. If I have to go on the NFL field, get injured, and be crippled the rest of my life, God forbid, I'd do it for that $10 million guaranteed. So that's okay. I feel for those kids. Go get your bag, everybody. Go get your bag.
You know what's interesting though is that these college presidents usually come into the NFL, try to make their way in, try to infiltrate the business, but it's usually the NFL that's always putting the hammer down and making sure that they don't. And with these actually going through, I'm very surprised because guys like Luther Burden, and what it seems like to me is, and maybe I'm completely wrong on this, but the guys that were projected borderline first round, second rounders, they're the ones that are getting the bag, the fully guaranteed, like the Nick Emanwaris of the world, the Luther Burdens. Because the Bears signed Ozzie Trapillo and Shamar Turner, but I don't think they got fully guaranteed contracts.
Oh, nothing guaranteed?
I think they got partially guaranteed, but not the fully guaranteed that the other guys are getting.
That's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing is that when you see, what was it? It was for a full month that 30 out of the 32 second rounders hadn't been signed. And the whole idea was who was going to budge first. That's fine. I totally understand that this was kind of part of the game, right? As soon as training camp was around the corner, we saw deals getting done, and it was a range of people getting fully guaranteed contracts to partially guaranteed or being super incentive laced. My whole issue, I think, with this is that if you start to hold out with that contract, if you're a rookie and you're holding out, that's what rubs me the wrong way. I don't like any of that stuff. Not talking about Shamar Stewart here, but I'm referring to because I think the Bengals are stupid and Shamar's doing what he needs to do. But if you're a second rounder and you're holding out because you want specific guarantees, that's a no-go for me. I'm not going to come to the field, show them that you're worth that money, and then get paid. Go get what you need to. It's going to be off-season workouts. If you're going to have the ACL injury, it's a freak accident, but you owe it to the teams who drafted you to show them some level of commitment
and loyalty, right? And I think that's what we're seeing with that. Like you mentioned, the Shamar Stewart stuff. It would have been cool to see our first player ever that maybe takes himself out of the NFL, goes back to college, and then recommits to the NFL. So we talked about this a little bit during the Caleb Williams drama, I think a month or two ago.
I don't believe that they would have been the first player ever. Are you sure?
I think I don't know anyone else that left
No,
the
it
team that
was
they
no.
drafted with.
Oakland Raiders. He ended up. This guy's a two-sport athlete.
Bo Jackson?
Bo Jackson. He sat out the year, came back, and got drafted by the Oakland Raiders because I think it was the Falcons who didn't want him to play football. I didn't want him to play baseball, so he sat out. He's like,
Oh, no
no,
way.
get me drafted by a team that'll let me do both. I don't remember
That's
though.
dope.
Let me go ahead and confirm this really quickly.
Yeah, but we talked about that with the Caleb Williams stuff earlier because they were talking about all of the options that they had at their disposal to make sure that Caleb goes to a good situation. And I mean, that in the modern NFL would be unprecedented with all social media, with all the hype and the ratings that the NFL does. That player would be really, honestly, I don't even know what that would look like. It's so interesting to see if a player were to get drafted, his first round pick, go to a team, honestly, a team that needs him too. Like Trey Hendrickson aside, who do the Bengals have on defense to support Joe Burrow and fulfill those Super Bowl aspirations that team has? But that would be really cool. Another guy that's really finally concluded his holdout was Trey Harris, who is now a golden opportunity to become the X for the Chargers with Mike Williams retiring. Trey Harris is now in line competing with Quentin Johnson for that X position.
Are you seeing the clips online of Quentin Johnson dropping balls?
Yeah. I mean, we saw it all season last year.
At the NFL level, you can't even get. No, is it 5 or is it 3? 3 years at the NFL
3,
level, you
yeah.
can't even catch a ball at this point. It's kind of embarrassing.
It's insane. It's got to be mental, but yeah, I mean, Trey Harris has the easiest shot to become the X for a team out of all the rookies, maybe, because there are so many rookies that were drafted teams that have loaded wide receiver rooms. You look at Jaden Higgins is almost like Nico Collins 2.0. You look at Luther Burden, who's almost like DJ Moore 2.0. So all these archetype receivers are being drafted to teams that already have that same archetype on the team that they're going to be groomed into becoming that next guy. Trey Harris has that golden opportunity to become that guy this year. And we'll see if he can pick it up. Another huge news that we got last week out of Cleveland. I mean, if you think about it, the way that the offseason is gone, maybe the Browns were right into drafting 2 QBs and 2 running backs because Quinshon Judkins was arrested for battery and domestic violence. That is a huge slap on the wrist. He's probably going to be out of training camp. He's probably going to be out of the preseason. The NFL suspension policy on domestic violence and battery usually around 4 to 6 games. So we could see, because he's a rookie, he's losing all that money. But they have Dylan Sampson as well. They brought back Jerome Ford on the cheap.
Not just the money, it's the reps. And with a loaded running back room, not loaded. But a full running back room. I apologize. A full running back room. That's not going to be something good, especially if you need to be able to come on in, be able to learn the offense, be able to prove that you can develop that trust with your coaches, your QB, and your teammates. Now you're losing all that mid-season. All this sort of stuff becomes infinitely harder. A training camp is an area for the teams to kind of gel together and make sure that level of team bonding and trust is there. It's built over that time. So it sucks. It's unfortunate that Quinshon Judkins will put himself in a position like that. He was touted as one of the top running back prospects in this draft, and I really hope that these players start learning their lessons from situations like this.
Yeah, that is just terrible, especially to come out of college. Like, dude, you got drafted in the 2nd round. You're getting paid. What are you thinking in that moment? It makes no sense. We have a load of other news to get into. It's extension talk. We've got 5 high-profile extensions, and we're going to rank them 1 through 5. So we've got Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, TJ Watt, Ryan Poles, George Karlaftis, and Trey Smith. So Adil, why don't you give us what you think was the least smart extension out of those?
Oh, that's a layup. Okay, well, it's Ryan Poles. What are you doing, Chicago? What is this? What's the point of extending Ryan Poles during this time? At least give it a little bit of time to show that things are coming together. It seems that Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles have buddied up. They are going to be going down on a ship together if anything were to happen, right? They're tied at the waist, and or at the hip, sorry, and they don't they don't seem to be people who have a plan. The plan is to rob the Bears of whatever they got. What was the point of extending Ryan Poles when he hasn't shown you anything leading up to the point of getting Ben Johnson? The best thing that Ryan Poles has done. And then there's nothing else. Two things. The trade that got them the first overall pick for Caleb Williams. I'm going to consider that to be one item here, okay? Because along with the trade, there wasn't much that came with it. You got DJ Moore. Seems like he might be shipped out mid-season. But you got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is one of the best talents in the NFL, period. Okay, that was great. You go and you get Ben Johnson. Guess what? You know why Ben Johnson came? It wasn't because Ryan Poles runs a great organization. He saw Caleb Williams just zipping the ball down the sideline, and he was like, there goes a dynamic player who can throw on the run. I like that. Let me go over there. Ryan Poles had nothing to do with this situation. To extend Ryan Poles is the dumbest thing. It's the most Bears thing to do. Kevin Warren, you a thief, dog. You could have shown that you were a competent president. But to go out here, first you screwed things up in the Big Ten. Now you're coming over here screwing things up in Chicago. Thank you very much. We hated you in the Big Ten. Thank you for doing your work in Chicago as well.
So I'm gonna agree with you here in terms of this being the least smart move out of what we've seen throughout these 5 extensions, but for a completely different reason. One, I think it's not the most Bears move because they just lined up their GM with their head coach. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are now tied at the hip. Those two go hand in hand. The way this project works is Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams are all together. They're living and dying by whatever happens with this project. Why I think it doesn't make any sense to me is because why didn't we do this last year? Why did we keep Eberflus? Why did we get Waldron? What had either of them shown to go into another year, draft a new rookie quarterback, and then try it out for a year? Like, that makes no sense to me. This whole idea of lining up Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles, get the quarterback, everyone is in a kumbaya now. We could have just avoided a whole year of headache and rookie development or rookie misdevelopment, really, if we just did this a year ago. So that's why it just doesn't make sense to me. In terms of the merit's not there. Why I think they did it is to line up head coach and GM because they never do that. And that's the credit I'm giving them because they've finally made a move that made sense for the trajectory of their front office. Especially with Kevin Warren's now going to focus on the stadium. Ryan Poles is taking charge of football operations. You finally got a competent head coach who was the main target for everyone, the hottest name on the market going into the offseason. The Bears never do that. And you're developing a second-year quarterback with a bunch of offensive pieces. This is so non-Bears. It just is. And I think that it just boggles my mind that we had to wait we wasted a year, got Caleb killed out there with almost 70 sacks. Eberflus and Waldron it was like you took 2020, what was it, 4 at this point, and then you just like lit it on fire. And 2025 is good, but there are still ashes and remains that are looming over 2025 based on what happened last year.
I do want to comment on a few things. I want to push back on a few things too. Number one, when you say that this is now like lining up Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, I feel like this doesn't do anything for me except alleviate the blame that could inevitably be put on Ryan Poles. First and foremost, it's not unheard of for a coach to go out and for a organization to go out and get a coach that is the top coach on the market. It's also not unheard of for that. Hold on a second. It's not. I'm talking about like in a generality. It's not not unheard of for that coach to flame out. It happens across the board. Not to say that Ben Johnson will. I'm just saying that the hottest coaching name doesn't always pan out.
Yeah.
When you're attaching Ryan Poles to Ben Johnson, I feel like what they want to show is that everything that was happening beforehand wasn't Ryan's fault. His hands were tied. And that's why now that he's got his guy, Ben Johnson, now you'll start to see things turning out. It's just a signal it's a smoke signal to these Bears fans. Hey, everything is going to turn now. Please have hope. Please be involved in our stadium and stuff. That's what I
Yeah.
feel like it's the case. I just don't think that and we agree on this already, that Ryan Poles doesn't have the merit to be extended to begin with. But to
Yeah.
me, it's like, why not just clear house from a personnel standpoint? Because if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm already nervous when you don't have the track record to draft and to develop. Okay, Ben Johnson's got the developing narrative. You don't have the track record of drafting. What is going to happen now? What's going to happen when Ben Johnson and the Bears struggle? Guess what? It was a losing organization. You don't just win overnight. Then people are going to start calling for his head. People are going to start calling for Ryan Poles' head. There's all this misalignment. When the organization as a whole says, we are starting fresh, we got a new head coach, we've got the whiz kid, we got Caleb Williams, we've got this new GM, he's highly touted, we've got a new president, he's going to be able to run things in a better way, blah, 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 blah. Now what's going to happen is that the Chicago fan base has patience. The moment things go wrong in Chicago, and it will, you're turning around a losing team. It takes time. And Chicago media and Chicago fan bases, they're rabid. They're gonna be like, Ben Johnson, what did they? My God, Ryan Poles, you can't do anything. They broke Caleb last year. You want to avoid all this. It's too much noise in Chicago. Extending him was the biggest mistake. And I don't want to take up too much time. I think that we are aligned in some sort of way. I'm just gonna turn it back over to you for your last thoughts, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think it's tough because you just started this project. You're in year 3, year 4. You're going into year 4 of this rebuild, right?
Or year 4 for Ryan Poles.
Year 4 for Ryan Poles. You're going into, and he just has too much of his signature all over this team right now. But also, I think, this is my personal opinion, I think Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles during the interview process aligned to the fact that, hey, Ben, it's your offense. You take care of it. Whatever personnel, whatever moves that you want to make, you let me know and I'll draft those players. Luther Burden to me was a Ben Johnson pick. Colson Loveland was a Ben Johnson pick. For sure. Ozzie Trapillo was a Ben Johnson pick. They were way
influenced as well.
For sure. Johnson. It was like, get me an offensive line, first of all. Get rid of the crap from last year. Get me an offensive line. Get me a Hall of Fame left guard in Joe Thuney. Bring him in. Get me competent weapons. Let's build on what we have here. And that, to me, just feels like Ben Johnson has a lot more control of a situation, more than what you would probably see in like a first-year head coach. So we agree there at 5.
Wait, can I say one more thing? Do you think that the Bears would have been more conservative if Ryan Poles had been let go and they were to start fresh? Do you think they would have spent all that money in free agency?
No. I feel
how does that make you feel?
I feel like that, but it's like Poles leaving wasn't on the table this year. There was no point in the offseason that I thought
what it was that or wasn't. Just your opinion of, if you feel like Poles wasn't here, you guys had more time to set up a team. How does that make you feel about the outlook versus the potential outlook? The current outlook versus the potential outlook of starting slow and building through the draft.
It's just like we talk about this so many other areas of sports. You got to hit your layups when they're there, and he just doesn't seem to ever hit his layups during the draft. And to me, you can do whatever you want. You can trade for Joe Thuney. You can trade for Jonah Jackson. You can, sign DeAndre Swift. You can have all these moves and this bravado, especially during Hard Knocks last year. All these like positive vibes are up. Sign DJ Moore. Show that in the film. It's great all around. But like, we talked about this so much during the draft, and it's been a cycle now. There's a pattern of just like guys that are there, George Pickens, Nick Scorton. There's guys that are there for you to draft, Jalen Carter, and you just don't do it because it's like, no, I know what I'm doing, or we have a reason for it, or you're too cute, or you're too clever with it, and it just rubs me the wrong way. So that's why I feel like, I can't say, because a brand new GM would just be like, what the hell are we doing? I feel like I would have less confidence in a brand new GM right now than Ryan Poles, which is crazy because I don't have much confidence in Ryan Poles. But if they were to then refresh and restart the same cycle that they do with the Ryan Paces, the Phil Emerys, the Jerry Angelos, then bring in a new head coach, it's just like, at least there is some alignment. There's some organizational structure. And that has been lacking for the Bears since Lovie Smith.
So the unknown is the only reason why you're okay with the current situation. But from a long-term standpoint,
because we have the coach.
Jury's out.
The coach is huge. We have the coach. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that Ben Johnson was the correct coach for this team. There is no doubt in my mind that Ben Johnson is going to bring out a side of Caleb that is going to be super efficient, super well structured, and I think he's going to coach him up. And if he can't coach Caleb Williams up, the people are going to turn on Caleb Williams. Out of the three, people will turn on Caleb Williams faster than they'll turn on the other two, for sure.
Okay. You know that, and that's important when you're building a team, the marriage between quarterback and coach. And that's the thing that people like don't really understand how underrated that is. How valuable it is to the team's success long term. Developing a franchise quarterback is not just about drafting the guy and getting the pieces around him. When you saw Stafford in his early years, he had like who was our OC at the time? It was he was a previous Rams coach, but basically
Mike Martz.
No. It was not Mike Martz. It was someone else. I'll let you know. Scott Linehan. Scott Linehan was our OC, and he flamed out over in the Rams, and he came over to Detroit, and it was a very like high flying offense, right? Stafford is super turnover prone at that time. He doesn't really know exactly how to lead a team. A lot of the time, and I think this was something that came out during his time in Detroit, where like someone was talking about, "Hey Stafford, you need to step up and say something in the locker room." And I think it was a free agent that had signed, and Stafford had said something like, "Oh, we don't really do that here." I think that was a rumor that came out, like in a radio station, that like Stafford had said, like, "We don't really like step up and like make locker room speeches. That's coach's job. Coach will do it." Coach leaves, right? You hire in Jim Caldwell. Stafford becomes a different player. And what's that? Like Jim Caldwell had that experience with Peyton Manning. He was able to develop him as like a player, even though he wasn't the correct player for the team, the correct coach for the team. The minimum that you're going to get out of Ben Johnson Caleb's marriage is that Caleb will be a better player for it. I think that he's going to mature and he's going to become something that Chicago will need for the long term. And that was my main issue. I don't even care if like Chicago gets like a win or two against us over the next couple of years. My main issue was, damn, they got a guy who's going to coach up Caleb. As a Detroit Lions fan, you got a guy that
even last year,
Caleb a great QB for the future. Even if he doesn't.
Even last year, you had so many people in the Bears locker room talking about how they were not being coached, and there was no kind of standard being set. There was no sense of responsibility or accountability being put on anybody because Waldron and Eberflus were just like super hands off, and you guys just do it. We'll be lax about it. And Keenan Allen had a problem with it. Jalen Johnson had a problem with it. So many players had problems with it. But I think that's something that we can look forward to as Bears fans. Stepping away from all that, at number 5, we had Ryan Poles. Getting into the number 4.
Sorry, go ahead.
Getting into the number 4. From least smart to smartest. So at 4, I have TJ Watt. Pittsburgh Steelers extended TJ Watt right now. 3 years, $123 million. It is the largest contract for a non-QB in the NFL right now. Is he the best player?
Per year basis.
On a per year basis. Is he the best non-QB in the NFL right now? Is he one of the 5th best? I wouldn't say so. I'm so just puzzled by the Steelers' moves this offseason. It feels like they're going all in, but they're opting to really just throw all their chips into this year, it seems, because you could have traded some of your vets and gotten some assets down the line, maybe some draft picks. Instead, you go and you get a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who is in the twilight of his career. TJ Watt, don't get me wrong, is a top-tier edge rusher. But, I mean, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, there's a few guys that I can name that I think are better at this point. And I don't know, it just seems like I don't understand these moves. But TJ Watt, it does seem like this was the wrong move for this period of time.
I think, and I'm just going to review my list here of the. So we got Watt, Wilson, Sauce, and then who else did we say? The last one?
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith? Yeah. I mean, I would say Watt because it's just the layup that's there. It's just out of the other 3, this is the one that stands out because of the average per year basis, right? It seems like Pittsburgh is the type of team to say, we know what we're doing. We're the Steelers. We're a premier franchise. And they think they've got the team together. Like this is the team that's going to take them on the deepest run they've had in 10 years. I think that this is the most weird all-in season there is. They went all in on one side of the ball. And it wasn't the side of the ball that you thought that would be there. I mean, like, I think the DK Metcalf move was really good. I'm not even gonna fault them. That was a good move.
Yeah.
You needed to get some maturity at the position and some consistency. DK Metcalf will do that for you.
Hmm.
Aaron Rodgers
Okay.
is, well, I mean, he's a big body ex-receiver. And he's a
Maturity, though, is, I don't know.
We're comparing them to the wide receiver.
To George
okay,
Pickens. Yeah.
You got George Pickens, okay? So you go and you do that. I think that's good. DK Metcalf's a great receiver. You got Aaron Rodgers, who I think that he was unfairly criticized as being way worse than he actually was. I think that he was pretty good, all things considered. Coming off of an Achilles injury, that was pretty good. The other thing is when you trade away Minka to go get Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, Jonnu Smith. I'm having a hard time understanding why are we going on the defensive side of the ball instead of helping out the offensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, who's wide receiver 2?
Your O-line sucks. Who's wide receiver 2? And you just traded away, or not traded away, you let go of Najee Harris, who wasn't the greatest running back, but who did you replace him with? Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson? Like, again, there's some hope there in the backfield, but not that much hope. It's not like you got a top 10 running back there that you can just rely on. Okay, there's someone who can take the pressure off. No, none of that is there. What is the all-in? It seems like they're like, this is Steelers football, and this is how we do things over here. Yeah, I don't get it. But TJ Watt is worth it because he's a top 5 defensive end. Even if you call him the 5th best defensive end, okay, that contract within 3 years is going to look not too bad. And all in all, at the end of it, if
you think that contract in 3 years is going to not look too bad?
I mean, Hutch is gonna blow that contract out of the water. If TJ Watt just
you're talking about
he's gonna get 40.
You're talking about the money. So you think he's going to be worth this contract, though? Like he's playing out this contract, and it's going to be, we're looking 3 years down the line and saying, wow, the Steelers made a good move.
It'll be worth it because of what they get in the end. They're going to get 2 first-rounders for TJ Watt. Someone's going to sucker up and just like really bend over and give them whatever they need for TJ Watt. Two first-rounders for TJ Watt. They would have gotten all the play out of him. They would have gone all in the Steelers' way. And at the end of the day, they would have secured their future.
How long are you thinking that's like? Where are you thinking that's coming down the line? Next year? Do you think that's coming? If
it doesn't work this year, they're going to trade TJ Watt. Now, when you have like years taken off of a contract, I mean, TJ Watt has 4 years left on his contract in totality, right? It was a 3-year extension.
Yeah.
Okay. So some team's going to trade for him. What's going to happen is they're going to convert all of that salary for 1 year into a signing bonus. They're going to kick that signing bonus 5 years down the line, add 4 years in order for it to work out for them. It's going to be like, win-win, we got TJ Watt, and it only costs 2 second-rounders, and we can afford them.
I don't see the other side of it, though. I don't see that the Steelers paid this money, and they're going to get everything that they're wanting to out of the player for his play. Like, yeah, maybe it doesn't work this year, and then they trade him, and then they get a king's ransom. But that, to me, isn't the reason that they gave him the highest per year contract in the NFL outside of quarterback. I feel like they just overshot here, and they've been overshooting the entire offseason. I don't know. I mean, with all these moves, right?
Let me pose one thing.
We both,
TJ Watt gets sent away for 2 first-rounders. Those 2 first-rounders are used to trade up for the first overall pick, and they go get Arch Manning because Howard may not work out over there. So, okay, on the field it may not work out until Arch Manning becomes the quarterback for the Pittsburgh.
So your theory is this is actually paying the highest per year contract for the long term play.
For a long-term play, yes.
We'll see how that goes out. But you tell me right here, right now. They're going all. You and I both think that they're in some way, shape, or form. To somebody, they're really going all in. Are they a contender? What are they, a division contender right now? Are they making the playoffs? Like, where do we see them? Because I don't think they're competing with the Bills. I don't think they're competing with the Ravens. I don't think they're competing with the Chiefs. They don't look as nice to me as the Broncos look or the Chargers look. The Bengals, that's what, like that line right after that, right? Like that 7th seed in the playoffs, that's where they are to me. And you don't make all these moves to get 7th seed or 6th seed as a wild card spot in the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, it's a nice defense. Don't get me wrong. They don't have the offensive firepower. Even if it's like the defense is carrying Aaron Rodgers, that team isn't going to stack up well against the Bills or the Ravens.
Okay, so let me show you one thing here. And you're going to be mad surprised about this. Here is the Pittsburgh Steelers scheduled last year. Who was their QB last year? Fields and Wilson, right?
Russ, yeah.
and Justin Fields. Okay. The Steelers last year beat the Denver Broncos, the LA Chargers. This is so stupid. They lost to the Colts. They lost to the Cowboys. And then they go out and they beat the Commanders, who made the NFC Championship, the Ravens, who were a top 3 team
But
last
they'll
year,
always be every year they get a game on the Ravens.
the Bengals, and on top of that, they also well, I mean, they ended up playing the Ravens in the wild card round,
And they got whacked.
they got punked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those are some heavy hitters right there. Like, I know
Yeah,
they have.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
To them,
Yeah.
because Aaron Rodgers brings stability to the offense, in which they can at least control the pace of the game, win out 21-17 week over week.
Yeah.
A bunch of one.
I mean, maybe, but does Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden bring stability to the offensive line? Is there a running back in that room that you trust right now? Like maybe Caleb. Like I'm high on Caleb Johnson, but that's a lot to ask of Caleb Johnson right now. And who's
Aaron
wide receiver two?
Anymore.
Who is wide receiver two?
Roman Wilson.
Yeah, there you go. Calvin Austin.
Calvin
Austin. I mean, you got Freiermuth, you got Jonnu. Arthur Smith loves his Jonnu Smith.
His 12.
But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then, so we'll go 3. At number 3, I'm going to do the Garrett Wilson move. I think it's a good move. You're 2 and 3. Like, Garrett Wilson is my 3. Sauce Gardner's at 2 for me. The Jets making some good moves. Like, they're locking in their cornerstones. I'll just say these 2 and then you can go. They're locking in the cornerstones of their franchise. Sauce had a down year last year, but to me, he's still a top 3 corner in the game right now. Just elite first 2 years. Had a down year. The Jets were in just a ton of turmoil last season. The defense was called terribly. They had injuries. DJ Reed got exposed, and just terrible all around. And he had a down year, but he's still an elite corner. But Garrett Wilson, we're waiting for it. I think we might get it this year if he's hyper targeted by Justin Fields. But I do like that. Like, you drafted 2 Rookie of the Year winners, right? It was 2021 or 22 that they were drafted, and they both won the awards on both sides of the ball. And you're locking that in, and I think that's good business.
I like it, but I would have kept them at 1 and 2, with Sauce being number 2 and Garrett Wilson being the number 1.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
Oh
yeah, you're high on Garrett.
I'm high on Garrett Wilson. I think that he's an amazing receiver with great outlook. In our dynasty league, I traded 2 first rounders for Garrett Wilson. The moment I read that report, Garrett Wilson is looking like he's got great. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait anymore, and I shot my wad, and 2 first rounders gone. But I'm gonna say Trey Smith, and here's the reason why. I don't like paying interior offensive linemen. Not like that. The highest paid guard in league history. Now, I understand that guards are important, but I think that guards are readily available. They are essentially like wide receivers, right? If you have a good system, you got a good coach, they're really only focused on doing a few things, right? You got your tackle to your right or your left side. You got your center on your right or your left side. No one's going to be able to really get around you unless you really mess up. In fact, guards, so long as they are pretty nasty and there's a lot of mean stuff and a lot of gritty stuff that happens in the interior of the offensive line. So long as you're nasty in the middle, you'll be able to succeed. Why pay someone $43 million? Why? Shouldn't the Chiefs, if the Chiefs were concerned about the interior of their offensive line, shouldn't the Chiefs have gone out and drafted somebody in their place? Why did that happen? You didn't want to pay Joe Tooney because he was old. You didn't want to pay, who else did they let go? I think it was the year before, their left tackle or their right tackle.
Orlando Brown.
You guys know the whole need to keep things cheap on the line. You're gonna have a tackle. They deserve to get paid that money. Don't overpay in the interior. Don't. It's not necessary. Trey Smith was there last year. Patrick Mahomes was having problems in the interior. He was still moving around. It's one player, and you paid him that much. I like him. He's a great player. What was the purpose? Now what you're going to be doing is hamstrung. Mahomes doesn't have a receiver. Rashee Rice may not be playing for a quarter of the season. What the hell happened? Nobody wanted to go out and grab a receiver? No, we're going to pay the interior offensive line. We're going to get, Mahomes throwing to apparently white Kelsey now, who's on his last legs. When Kelsey was black, he was balling out. He started dating with Taylor Swift. He became white, and I don't know what happened. This guy just lost the love of the game. his wife makes, or his future wife will make whatever he has made in his entire career in one world tour. He doesn't care about the sport anymore. You didn't get any weapons from Mahomes, which you decided to overpay on the interior. I'm sorry, not from me. I think that's your third best move, or the third worst move from a free agency perspective.
So I agree with you. I agree with you that it's not smart to overpay your interior lineman. However, with Creed Humphrey, with drafting Josh Simmons, and now with Trey Smith being locked up, you've got a solid O line. Like you will have no issues on your left side.
Absolutely.
And you have that locked up for at least another 5 years, which is probably going to bring you 2 more Super Bowls. But yeah, I get it. He is, I don't know, I feel like he was the only player that was put on the franchise tag. Isn't that crazy? Like that sounds very odd to me. There's
the NFL this year,
no
right?
other player in the NFL that was put on the franchise tag. So it kind of feels like they were like pressured into it because
They had
why are we
already
the only
invested so much.
team? Yeah, and they are the only team to do it, so they kind of felt peer pressure, or I don't know. But
What's weird to me is that you can get a guard like 3rd through 5th. I don't think the Chiefs will ever be bad enough where they are going to be drafting in the top 20 of a round, like for the foreseeable future, especially if Mahomes at quarterback, especially if Reed.
But his price also probably would have gone up during the season.
I don't care. Let him go. We
wanted him.
Lions,
we were trying to trade
him. The Lions picked up Christian Mahogany in the 6th round, 7th round. We pick up Tate Ratledge in the 2nd round. We get Miles Frazier in the 5th round. If the Chiefs had done that during the time instead of the Lions, we would have said the Chiefs are amazing. And you know what they would have done? They would have overpaid to go bring home. Hell, I don't freaking know. You could have gone out and gotten Stephon Diggs for all I cared. You could have gotten some of the receivers. You could have lured away some of the big name receivers. You could have traded for DK Metcalf. You could have done something that could have put Mahomes in a position to have some skilled players and still have a good interior offensive line, or at least a good outlook on the interior offensive line. But these skilled players are hard to come by. You're not going to be drafting high in the draft anymore. Don't know why. Don't know why we're doing that. Why are we allowing Mahomes to just...
Weird, though, because they were drafting at positions that had players there. But Josh Simmons fell to them, so I get that. But not taking anybody when you have incoming suspended Rashee Rice, you have an aged Kelsey. You got Jalen Royals, though. They drafted Jalen Royals, who, I mean, seems like another Justin Ross to me, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, weird, but at the same time, I get it because, I mean, dude,
are they trying to
Creed's my favorite center in the league.
Are they trying to capture the Tyreek magic again? They get a guy who's got speed, who can go over the top. And
what if they just go after Tyreek?
Yeah, I would totally be. That would make more sense than re-signing Trey Smith. It's go out, get Tate Ratledge. You can still get Josh Simmons. Trade up and get Josh Simmons. You could have redone the entire offensive line, still been in a good position, and gotten Tyreek Hill back, and you guys would have been in better salary cap position. But I digress. We'll let that go and we'll move on.
So, crazy extensions. We talked about that. And then, let's talk about the Rashee Rice news a little bit. So Rashee Rice finally got sentenced, 5 years probation, has to serve 30 days of jail time within those first 5 years. It is said to be happening this season. And the NFL is also going to come down on a suspension for him. So we're probably looking at like maybe 3-4 games. Man, he could have been a fantasy steal had nothing come out. We kept on like kicking the can down the road. Maybe it'll happen next year. But now that he's actually getting his comeuppance, what is this Chiefs? Is the Chiefs' reign of terror in the AFC West actually going to end this year?
Can I ask you something first before we get to that question? Why is Rashee Rice still competing, or not competing? Why is he still at training camp?
Because he hasn't been.
Yeah. Why is he's still at training camp? He's a full.
Because he hasn't been.
He's set to complete training camp.
But he hasn't been disciplined by the league yet.
But at a certain point, which I understand, at a certain point, you're gonna say, hey, you're gonna go to the league, and this is what I think generally happens. Hey, this is coming down. This is all before we even get the news. They are well in talks with the judge, with the lawyer, with the entire legal team, the entire process. They're aware. Hey, Rashee's probably gonna get, this sentence, where this is the plea that we're working out for him. They're going to go to the league. They're going to say, hey, buddies, so Rashee's going to come down with this. What's going to happen? What's going on? And they'll say, we're probably going to suspend him for the, quarter of the season and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Okay, can we actually get him to do that in the off season so that we can lose less time? And then they'll say, well, you know what? Okay, well, you know what? Let's let him do the jail time. You guys can do that. We can suspend him after he comes out of jail, and that way, during that suspension, he'll be able to at least train when he's out of jail. Like, what's gonna happen? He's gonna do that at some point, anyways, right? He's gonna go in jail. It's not like he's gonna be in football shape. Let him go to jail, serve the suspension for the first quarter of the season, and let him use that as the training camp for himself. But I don't understand why he's at training camp. Just go to fucking jail. It's inevitable, anyways. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It seems like
Anyways, I don't
this
know.
whole thing just seems so weird to me because I don't understand why this has not only lingered so long. Like, it happened, May or June of last year, right?
Oh, it was.
I'm pretty sure it was last
hit
year.
Last year, it hit the news last year, but
Or it hit the news
happened
last year,
before.
yeah. And it's still lingering, so I don't know. But I just don't see all the signs. And like, it happens all the time. The signs point to the Chiefs going down, and they just keep rising. Last year was the first time that I saw this team not look like the same team it had, and somehow they still ended up winning all the games that they needed to make the Super Bowl. This season is, I think, the year that I'm going to plant my flag and say the Chiefs don't win the division.
Who are you expecting them to be beaten out by?
Man, every single time. That Chargers team, that Broncos team, it's one of the two. But man, I keep looking at
the
that.
Raiders will be a
Chargers
different look
team.
too. They might steal a game or two against one of the top
That
teams.
Chargers team is looking at me. That Chargers team is looking at me like that Ana de Armas meme. Just like, it's gonna happen this year. It's gonna happen this year.
I'm not gonna acknowledge that, as my wife does watch that. That's a trap willing to come up like later on. My wife's gonna unplug my CPAP machine at night.
But yeah, so I think it's going to be one of those two. But we'll see. Last bit of news. This has been the longest news segment of our podcast. Is 12 show history.
We got 2 yappers on there. That's why.
I'm not complaining though. The Lions got some news, so why don't you take us through it and tell us your thoughts on what happened today?
Okay, the Lions, Sunday, July 20th? July 21st.
Yeah.
July 20th, sorry. The Lions
20th.
On Sunday, July 20th, had a full day of training camp. So I believe with the league rules, you start off with an hour and a half, and you increase by 15 minutes every single day until you reach 2.5 hours. So the Lions came out here. Noticeable absences. Taylor Decker. Wait, what's going on?
Nothing. Is
it my delivery?
No, it's just like the ramping up of the time. You don't gotta explain.
I just wanted to. It was part of it. Okay, Taylor Decker, shoulder surgery, had something cleared up, is going to miss the Hall of Fame game, and that's going to be big as Detroit's having some offensive line concerns. So we definitely needed those reps to come on in, but as a 13-year, is it 13? No, it has to be about 10 to 11-year vet. I understand that Decker's going to need some time to recoup and recover and do whatever he needs to. I think Amon-Ra also had some surgery in the offseason as well. But the big news, the Lions' defensive line depth took another hit. Levi Onwuzurike has torn his ACL, is out for the season. Apparently, it was a minicamp injury. And, the guy can't catch a break. He had his first 2 years plagued with injuries before having a bounce-back year in his third year. It was his third or fourth year, I forget. Essentially, he earned a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. And before that season even starts, he has the ACL. Don't know if the Lions are going to bring him back. As far as depth is concerned, a few other guys, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Makai Wingo, and I believe Josh Pascal are also all starting on the physically unable to perform list. So it's going to be interesting how the Lions defensive line gels together at some point in the season, but that's the big news coming out. As far as training camp was concerned, the big hitters here, Jared Goff looked a little rusty, was throwing things a little over and was trying to connect with the receivers that weren't on the same page as him. Apparently, we were having a lot of good showing from our undrafted free agents, which always kind of shows you that even the starters get a little rusty if your undrafted free agents are starting to show up a little bit on the tape. And then aside from that, Dan Campbell had his training camp presser in which, he caught everyone by surprise with all the injury news and said, hey, this is part of the process here. We understand that there's going to be concerns on the O-line, concerns on the D-line. Now it's next man up. We got to push through. We got to make sure that we're putting a team that's worthy to be on the field come regular season. And even at that, Lions fans expect for there to be a learning curve during that first month. It's not with two divisional games and the Ravens coming in the third week as well. So be prepared and don't lose faith, guys.
And that was our Lions update. And it sounds kind of like the Lions fan is as confident as the Bears fan is going into this season.
I mean,
which is great for me.
You lose so much. You're going to be shaken to your core a little bit. And I was okay when the coaches left. The moment Ragnar left, I'm like, this guy's gone. I don't know what to do. Our Iron Man is out.
Yeah, there's a lot. Honestly, like the way that you guys have kind of been dealt this hand during this offseason, it's pretty brutal, especially coming out after, winning the North, being the premier team, and now all of these hits are just taking place at once. It's going to be so interesting to see not only how the season progresses, but how you come out to start the season. Because last year, you guys kind of had this bravado that you carried into from the 2023 season. You had that first game against the Chiefs. That was 2023. That game propelled you right forward because but that game in 2023 against the Chiefs, that propelled you forward, and that momentum really, you guys rode that all the way through. Last year, coming into last year, you were kind of like, all right, we've been here. We went through the ringer against the 49ers, that heartbreaking loss. This is our year to come back and bounce back. And for the entire season, you guys were seen as that top tier echelon premier team in the NFC North. You guys are taking some hits, some haymakers. It really feels like you're going to be kind of against the 8 ball at the start of the season, but then maybe find your footing once the coordinators settle in.
Yeah, I understand how that there's that perception as well as that level of concern. It's all warranted. But I think that the one thing that hasn't changed is the identity of the team, of who they are. So when you talked about bravado, that's actually kind of spot on. That the Lions have this bravado, and it's from their leader, right? Dan Campbell has instilled this. I mean, his first presser when it came out, people they were looking down upon Dan Campbell. They were laughing at it. Well, guess what? That's what has caused the team to perform at the level that they are. Now, are we going to answer some questions? How much of it was Dan Campbell? How much of it was the fact that Brad Holmes had hit on draft picks? Is it really about the coaches? Was it really about the players? This team's going to be really telling. I wouldn't say to all the people who are out there, including the Lions fans, don't judge what you see out of that first month of the regular season. Everyone's settling in. The entire league is settling in. I think that you're not going to see the Lions really fall. You're going to see them stumble, and that's going to happen no matter what. If you lose players, if you lose coaches, if you have injuries, if you've had a really troublesome offseason from a standpoint of turnover, right? It's okay. This is when the teams that are elite respond, and the teams who have good culture, this is how they respond, and this is the period when those questions were going to be answered. So all of training camp gets the team prepared for the regular season. All that first month of the regular season kind of prepares them not prepares them, it indicates for where they're going to be. Are they going to turn it around? Are they going to fall or falter? Are they going to folly? Are they going to be in a position where, they will be deciding the future of Dan Campbell? Maybe this season really pans out and maybe Ben Johnson was the brain. I don't believe that, but maybe Ben Johnson was the brains, and that's what everyone sees. And then, the media, the fans, everyone can turn. This is going to be a really interesting season for the Lions. Yeah, that 23 season, does the Dan Campbell message resonate? Was the last year a fluke? The 24 season, this is the year that, okay, they answered the bell. Proved that they were the elite echelon.
They're for real.
And now what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to this? So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm locked in on the Lions for a whole other reason. I know people are nervous, but I think that that's one of the reasons to be locked in, dialed in throughout the entire next 2 months.
So real quick, as we end this segment, rapid fire, just give me a couple sentences as to why. But outside of Jared Goff, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, who is the most important player impact-wise that will be a tell to how your season is going?
You said outside of Hutchinson, outside of Goff? I would say that it's going to be, oh man, you're limiting me to one player, but I was going to say the running back room. So I'm going to say 1A, Jahmyr Gibbs, 1B, David Montgomery. And the reason why is because this is going to be the biggest change from Ben Johnson to Johnny Morton. right? I know that the offensive line, you can't help what happened with the offensive line. That changed. This is a concerted effort from the Lions now to have two running back sets on the field. I know that they had mentioned this. Oh, we believe Jahmyr Gibbs is a weapon. That's why we drafted him. And people were saying, oh, but they're splitting time. You don't really see them both on the field together. Well, now I think the first day of training camp and a little bit of the interviews and stuff, we found out that this is the plan this year, that Jahmyr Gibbs might be split out a little bit more and David Montgomery might be in the backfield. So I'm going to see Jahmyr Gibbs, how he responds to a different role where he won't really be playing in kind of the gap schemes anymore, right? Where he's not going to be rushing off to the sideline trying to get the edge and really be on the field for all three downs in some way or another. You might see Amon-Ra and JMO and Gibbs appear split out to the left side, and you see David Montgomery in the lone back set. And what are you going to do out of it? How are you really going to be seeing this? How are you going to respond? Okay, well, Jared Goff has a ton on his plate now. Jahmyr Gibbs, what are you going to do to take the pressure off? Are you going to be the safety net? Are you going to be the superstar that people think you can be? What's going to happen here? How are you going to respond? So I'm going to say Jahmyr Gibbs, and then if I was able to, the running back room is the most important piece to the puzzle.
Interesting. Awesome. All right. So we are going to transition to our start bench cut. This is going to be, we've had a lot of dialogue, a lot of back and forth already. This is going to be more of the interesting
You know exactly where I'm going every time.
Maybe. There's a couple in here that I was actually interested in because I think quarterback-wise, but there's a couple actually. So we'll start bench cut. This is the NFC South. So at quarterback, we have Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Michael Penix, and Tyler Shuck. Start bench cut. Why don't you start us off?
Baker Mayfield, Michael Penix, Tyler Shugg, and who else?
Bryce Young.
I'm going to cut Penix and Shugg and bench Young and start Baker. Yeah.
So I'm starting Baker. I'm going to bench Penix because I think Penix is going to be better than Bryce Young. Cut Bryce Young because I don't believe in him. And obviously cut Tyler Shugg.
We've been arguing over this for the last 3
Saints
years.
Are gonna...
Literally about Bryce Young. Not about Baker, about Bryce Young.
I think
it started out with a Twitter conversation.
Yeah. And we're gonna have so much back and forth on it this year because this is the year. This is the prove it year. Because if Carolina doesn't have Bryce Young show out, they need to draft a quarterback. Running back room. This is interesting because the fourth name, and I completely forgot that he's the fourth name, even though he's the premier name on this list. Alvin Kamara for the Saints, Bucky Irving for the Bucks, Chuba Hubbard for the Panthers, and Bijan Robinson for the Falcons. Start bench cut.
Start Bijan, bench Bucky, cut Alvin Kamara just because of age.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing for me. Wide receiver, Mike Evans, Drake London, Tet McMillan, Chris Olave. I think we both are going to cut the same two, but you like Olave.
I like the idea of Olave. Like I'm that guy that's like, oh, I want to find a girl. Like, oh, I love this girl. What do you love about her? Hey, girl? I like girl. I like it. I like everything she comes with. Olave has the potential. That's the thing, right? People are coming to me and they're asking me about Olave in a redraft situation and a dynasty situation. And for redraft, I was saying maybe not the best idea. But for a dynasty situation, keep him. Someone's like, hey, I'm getting offered a second round. I was like, nope, keep him. Keep him. He might be worth it. He might. If the Saints turn this thing around, Olave is going to be your guy, and they might have him in a long-term deal at that point. Like he will be getting the.
They could trade him though. They could trade him, and then he becomes something.
Yeah, that too. Like the outlook for Olave across the board, like whatever situation it is, he will be used as a top receiver wherever he is, whether it's New Orleans or somewhere else. But if we're talking about this moment right now, you had what? Evans, McMillan, Olave, and who else?
London.
You're going to start Mike Evans. You're going to bench London. You're going to cut the rest.
I'm starting Drake London. I think Drake London's about to have a top 7 wide receiver season, and Penix is just going to go to London. We could see the emergence of Kyle Pitts finally. Darnell Mooney is there, but Penix and London, that connection is going to be lethal this year. Mike Evans is on the end of it. I feel like I don't know what to think of Evans because I wouldn't be shocked if we're starting the season and I don't draft him in any leagues and then he just starts off hot and catches all these touchdowns. And I would have said I should have drafted him. I should have seen this coming. But there's so many mouths to feed in that room right now between Evans, Godwin, Igbuka, McMillan. Cade Otton is also there. Bucky Irving is there. Rashad White is there. There's so much that laser Mayfield has to focus on. I don't think it's going to be the Mike Evans show anymore.
So,
But even aside from that, right now, I think London is a better receiver than Mike Evans.
So for me, I think London has all the potential in the world. I just don't trust what's going on in Atlanta. Mike Evans last year, to me, had one of the better years that he's had in the last couple of years. And that's saying something because he was playing with Brady at some point. I think Mike Evans had a very complete year outside of the fact that he was injured. He was out there blocking. He was making great moves out there. And in the route running, it felt like he had fresh legs. He was still the deep threat that he always is. Outside of the injury, he was a complete receiver. I think it was one of the more complete seasons out of him in his career. Yeah, a loaded room.
I think he was better the year before.
Oh, he could be. I just really liked him last year. I don't think that Mike Evans is going to be the guy who is going to be poised for a step back here unless the targets aren't going to come, right? I get that. I completely understand. But he's very capable still. And that's the reason why I started Mike Evans and I benched Strickland. And I think we're on the same page that we really do appreciate both those receivers. Tet looks like he could be a great superstar. The way that minicamp was coming out, the reports out of there that he was being hyper-targeted and Tet was kind of running all over the place, making sure that he was seen by Bryce Young. That was great to hear that Tet's on his way to possibly becoming a big-time target there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge. I think Tet is a great fantasy pick this season because I think he's just going to be hyper-targeted. When I was watching him in college, my comp for him was Mike Evans. I think he's a poor man's Mike Evans. He could emerge into something, but right now I don't see him overtaking London or Mike Evans. For the offensive line, these are some really good offensive lines. The Buccaneers have a great offensive line. The Falcons have a great offensive line. We talked about guards that you could probably pick up like receivers. Well, one guard that you definitely can't do that with is Chris Lindstrom, who's probably the best guard in the game right now. They also have Matthew Bergeron. Jake Matthews turned it around last year. And Caleb McGarry, who is, I think he's a rookie.
Stepping up for them for True Dolman?
Ryan Newsill. And then they drafted someone, maybe. But that's the hole that they have. But I think Chris Lindstrom is good enough to kind of mitigate that a bit. The Buccaneers are actually starting the season without Tristan Wirfs, which I think is going to be huge.
How long is Wirfs out for? Half the year?
I think he's going to be out for 4 to 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. But that's huge. That's a left knee injury as well. He's going to have surgery on it. That's huge. They have Graham Barton, who they drafted last year, Cody Mock. No. I think it was like structural knee damage.
Okay. So they're like scoping it or something. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I would start the Falcons, bench the Bucs, and cut the rest because the Saints have nothing on the line of scrimmage right now.
Who are you missing? The Panthers?
Panthers, yeah. But I would cut the Panthers.
I don't know what's going on. I think the Panthers made some moves this offseason. But yeah, I guess start the Bucs, bench the Falcons, and then I think. Okay, well, yeah, the worst injury. Okay, start the Falcons, bench the Bucs, and then we can move on. We'll cut the rest.
Yeah, same. And then on the defensive sides of the ball, I think it also is between the Bucs and the Falcons. And here's my thing.
Are we going unit by unit, or are we just saying defense?
It's defense overall, but why are people so low on the Falcons? I'm so confused because the Falcons always get offseason hype. When they got Cousins, they had offseason hype. The year before, they had Desmond Ridder. But before Desmond Ridder, they would have Matt Ryan. And those years, they were always getting offseason hype. They've got guys on the defensive side of the ball. They brought in Leonard Floyd. They brought in Jordan Fuller. They've got David Onyemata. They drafted Jalen Walker. They brought in Divine Diablo. They have Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes. They had a great draft getting Jalen Walker plus James Pierce plus Xavier Watts plus Billy Bowman. Like,
what did they draft last year too? They drafted someone. They drafted someone on the defensive line as well, or was it in their linebacker core? Who did the Falcons? They drafted
Penix.
No, but after that,
they drafted Penix. After Penix?
After Penix, who was there?
Braylon Trice
Aruka
from
Aurora.
Washington. Aurora, yeah, from Alabama.
Yeah, from Alabama.
Yeah.
They have a young
They have names.
Defense. They have a
They
young
have
defense.
names.
They have names. Isn't that the point though of like what we've said is that the Falcons have a coaching problem, like a very clear coaching problem. Like they have good players. They seem to be doing well-ish, but it seems like something is holding them back, whether it be scheme development or just bad play calling in general. Something is holding them back all the time. They don't have it right with this coaching staff. Raheem Morris is not the guy. I mean,
I think he is.
he's a good defensive mind. He's not a good leader.
Yeah, he showed it with the Rams. He showed it with the Bucks before too.
I think it's easy to show it on two premier franchises. Like he was on the Bucks team when they were.
Are the Bucks a premier franchise to you?
I mean, this entire system, their front office is one of the best front offices in the NFL. The Bucks front office over the last 5 years,
like top 10.
Yeah, Light is a very good.
Yeah, he's really good.
GM.
He's very good.
And on top of that, they had continuity. They are able to develop their players. They draft well. Yes, they're a premier franchise right now, not in the history of the NFL. Right now, the Bucks are doing everything right. Baker comes in and starts playing the best ball he's ever played. Yeah, they know how to get the best out of their players. You know what? They're bringing in new OCs year over year. Guess what? It's going pretty well for them. They're doing okay, right? And
Yeah.
who's their Todd Bowles? Todd Bowles was bouncing around the league. Like he was getting head coaching opportunities.
I still don't like him. I still don't like him.
I totally understand, but at least he's like, the players all respect him and they're all like performing to some degree. Yeah, there's some boneheaded things that happen, but in terms of like the continuity, the entirety of the organization, keeping it together, they are they're a perennial playoff team currently as it stands. If they were to get rid of Todd Bowles or if they were to randomly luck into, I don't know, maybe they have a down year, they end up drafting Arch Manning. Whatever might happen, the Bucks will do it. They'll take care of it. I trust the Bucks to actually get something good out of the situation year over year. I think Baker's a product of a good organization right now. He's developed and he's being able to play to his strengths quite a bit. It's great what's going on in Tampa.
He's Baker the head coach maker because every offensive coordinator he deals with gets a head coaching job the next season. But I don't know. I'm looking at this defense for the Baker? Bucks right now.
The perception of Baker across the league. Like if he can do it with Baker, he can do it with our team.
We'll get into that in a second, you bastard. but for defense, do you like the man? I think I like the offense or the Falcons defense more than the Bucks defense. The Bucks defense to me just reeks of old age. You got guys like Hassan Reddick, Levante David, Vita Vea, Jamel Dean.
Vita Vea is in his 7th year or something, right? Jamel
yeah.
Dean's been around too. They let go of Carlton Davis, but then who did they pick up at corner?
They got Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. They got Jacob Parrish from Penn State. They got Christian Izzy and they got Bryce Hall. They got former Bear and Lion Kindle Wilder. Solid nickel corner. He got torched when he was on the Bears. I think I'm starting the Falcons, benching the Bucks, and cutting the rest.
Okay. You know, the problem is when you're taking a defense, you have to inherently take the coordinator.
Sure. I mean, Raheem Morris and Todd Bowles are like almost a neck and neck to me. Todd Bowles isn't some great head coach because a great head coach would have elevated this team. Todd
Bowles is an old school defensive mind and Raheem Morris is a new school defensive mind. Yeah. And they play very similar-ish styles. They have similarities. Their defenses have similarities, right? And that, you know,
Todd Bowles is just like, I'm going to blitz the hell out of you.
Well, interior, the defensive lineman, and it kind of pans out, right? The core of the defense is from the pass rush and the rush defense as well, right? And that's kind of the similarities between both of them. Obviously, it ends there, but the idea is if we have a good front seven, we would be a formidable defense, and I think that's shown over the years. The Bucks have always been playing the Eagles well. They play up to their opponents quite often. And I think Atlanta doesn't. Atlanta is so all over the place that I don't really know what they should be. I know that they're underperforming at the very least. So that's why I'm going to take the Bucks defense first, and then Atlanta, and then, dude. Oh, you know what? Why are we passing over Carolina? Carolina's doing a pretty good job.
Who in Carolina are you taking over any of these guys?
J.C. Horn's coming back, right? After like he'll finally be healthy.
J.C. Horn's better than A.J. Terrell?
No, not now, but potentially. I'm saying that potentially.
When?
We are just discarding the.
J.C. Horn was drafted with Pat Surtain, and Pat Surtain's the number one corner in the league.
I get it, but he also had a really devastating injury.
Okay. The Panthers picked up Trayvon Moehrig, who I was really high on when he got drafted to the Raiders. I thought he was going to be one of the best safeties in the game, and that didn't happen at all.
Hold on, you're getting Derek Brown back.
Okay.
Okay.
After almost, a year not playing football.
Okay, J.C. Horn, same deal, right? He's going to be coming back. He'll be pretty healthy. Nick Scorton, right? I know that
Nick Scorton and Princely. That's the thing. Nick Scorton and Princely coming both off the edge. You got Derek Brown in the middle. That's nice. That's nice.
They got a pretty good front seven, all in all. I'm not too worried about.
Name a linebacker.
Okay, are we counting Scorton as a linebacker?
No, he's edge.
Okay,
if you can name 3 guys on a front seven.
No, but I like Derek Brown. I like Nick Scorton. Princely is like that. These are good names. J.C. Horn. They will have a formidable defense. It's not like it's going to be something that we can just toss out. I'm not saying that I would change my answer. I'm just saying don't overlook the Panthers. That's my point.
I think they'll have a formidable defense in a year or two. I don't think they're going to have a formidable defense this year. Nick Scorton and Princely.
Good things.
Princely and Nick Scorton needs like a year.
They could, yes. Yeah. I'll agree with you.
All right. So that segues perfectly into me hyping up my guy. It's a Would You Rather Baker Mayfield edition. Let's get into it, man. So last week.
The head coach Baker.
The head coach Mayfield. Magic Man Baker Mayfield. You could call him a ton of nicknames at this point. He's probably like America's quarterback. Like everyone loves him. Adil hates him. The NFL execs and coaches last week dropped a poll for their top 10 quarterbacks. Now this was like kind of how we did our rankings. They did their own rankings. And both our guys, Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield, were 8 and 10 on this list. I was really surprised to see Baker Mayfield on this list ahead of guys like CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. But that just shows you what the NFL execs and coaches actually think of him. A couple things. 1, he went through crazy turmoil throughout his career. 2, the last 2 OCs he's dealt with both got head coaching jobs, and they have had an incredible offense. His touchdown percentage last year was, I think it was like a 7%, like every 7% of his throws were a touchdown, which is crazy.
It's a high touchdown percentage.
He had over 40 touchdowns. He also had a lot of turnovers, which has probably been his biggest calling card. Now he's developed into more of like a gunslinging quarterback, and he never was that. Like with the Browns, he was really safe, but at Oklahoma and with Tampa, just a gunslinger. And
it seems like the Browns were trying to make him into something that he wasn't. And I think Tampa Bay accepted him, and they just say, hey, go out there and show us what you're made of. And the interceptions will be there. That's fine. He gets it down to like 12-13. The Bucs will always be in a good position to win with him. So, I mean, I never hated Baker. My whole point was with you and I, whenever we were going back and forth, you were saying, would you take Baker or Goff? And I was like, Goff. He's been more consistent throughout his entire career. And it just, you're like, right. So it turned into this, like, you hated Goff when you didn't really hate Goff. You made me think that I hated Baker. I didn't even hate Baker. Like, yeah, Baker's having a great season. I was like, oh yeah, he's top 13 right now. He starts playing better. Yeah, he's doing better. He's borderline.
So let's do it.
He finishes strong. I'm like, yeah, great. I'm on the Baker.
Let's do it.
I like him.
Would you rather, number 1, would you rather Baker or Goff? Let's talk about it. Why?
I mean, if you're asking Goff to go out here and do exactly what he needs to do, he's that guy. He can go out and do that. If you're telling me that you need Goff to be dynamic, I don't think that that's in his wheelhouse at all. Now, you're going to compare Baker and Goff. 1, because Baker is more dynamic than Goff. It seems that his plays stand out more often. I don't need to see that out of Goff. I don't want him to do that. I want to see Baker be more in rhythm, more in structure, because that's kind of the smarter move, right? That's what leads to Baker's turnovers too. He thinks he can make every throw. So that's why I'm saying Baker's got to become a little bit more dialed in, cut the turnovers down, and then we'd have more of a conversation here. But Goff only does what he's asked to do, and that's why he succeeds at a higher level more often throughout his career. So that's why I'm taking Goff over Baker.
So I think that last sentence is correct, that Goff has succeeded more often than Baker. Right now, though, they're not very far apart, especially in terms of the turnovers. Goff had, 12 turnovers last year. Baker had 16. So they're very similar. I think Goff had 100
17.
more passing yards than Baker. He had 16.
All right, I might be wrong. I'll have a rebuttal. Sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off.
But they're like identical in completion percentage. But my thing is a couple here. The Lions and the Bucs are two almost crazy dissimilar offenses, because the Bucs developed a strong running game last year. The Lions rely on the run. The Bucs have a plethora of receiving weapons. The Lions have very good weapons in structure, like you were talking about. If you take Baker and Goff and you switch them, I don't think Goff performs well in the Bucs offense, where I think that Baker can perform well with the Lions. And I think that you're going to get the highs and lows with Baker. It's a roller coaster, but you're going to get like a full experience. Whereas Goff is very, like you said, structured. Like he's very safe, even though he has 12 turnovers. He still plays within the system, Baker can operate outside of it. That's the only reason that I would take Baker over, because I think I could just do more with Baker as my quarterback.
So to me, if you take that argument where will the other QB do better on the opposite teams, I don't think Baker will do as well on the Lions as he did on the Bucs, and I don't think Goff will do as well on the Bucs as he did on the Lions. I think that's just, to me, that's facts. They're just two offenses that don't function the same way, right? To me,
kind of, because I feel like the Lions offense functions more like Stefanski's in Cleveland did, and Baker had success in that offense. But you're limiting him. Obviously, you're limited at the end of the day. You're not allowing him to do the full load. But yeah,
with Goff over the last few years with Ben Johnson, it was all EPA, right? I used this stat a lot whenever we were talking. It was the EPA game. What was the whole idea? Making sure that Goff had his progressions in order, and the idea was to make sure that Goff threw to the receiver that would gain the most positive yards on the play. It wasn't about the most safe throw, but often than not, it did result in that because Ben Johnson was a great schemer. I think that with Baker's not the type to be able to just go through and be patient with his reads. Baker's the type to be like, this is what I feel right now. This is what my heart's telling me. These are my emotions, right? So that's where I would kind of disagree with you. The other thing is, Goff had 12 interceptions. Half of them came in one game. So if throughout the rest of the season, Goff is throwing at less than 0.4 interceptions he's averaging 0.4 interceptions per game for the rest of the season, I would take that over whatever Baker's giving you. Because if you're going up against the Eagles, or if you're going to go up against the Panthers, and the Panthers have the ability to come back because Baker's turning the ball over, that's just not what I want to see, right? Because
that's the weird thing. That's the really weird thing. We were talking about you were talking about how the Bucs play up to their competition, right? They also play very, very down to their competition on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. Because last year against the Panthers, they should have outscored them, just blown them out, and it was a really close game up until the end. With the season on the line, they played the Saints last year, and again, it took till the third quarter for them to really pull away. That was all right, Baker just taking over the game. But up until then, it was a stagnant offense, and it boggles my mind. But that's the thing. You get the full experience with Baker. You live and you die by the Mayfield. Whereas Goff will play in structure, and the team will go as the team goes. With Baker, the team goes as he goes. So it's your preference.
I don't want to spend too much time on Goff versus Baker because this is a who would you rather. But I also wanted to say one thing. Tampa Bay's offense looked very different in the last 6 to 8 games of the season. And why was that? It was because goodbye Rashad White, let's go with Bucky, because Bucky's much more dynamic runner. When Bucky came in, even their run scheme changed, right? Well,
their run scheme changed, but then also because of the fact that Godwin and Evans both got hurt, so they had no receivers.
At the end of the day, Bucky was literally a much better runner than
runner, because they gave him the workload.
And made the offense more balanced, and Baker didn't have to play hero ball as much. I would say an entire offseason with Bucky, with a offense that I think will be tailor-made to be balanced. You're going to see a more consistent Baker. So I'm ready to see what the season's what the season will show. But let's move on.
I think Tristan Wirf's injury is probably going to put a damper on that. But yeah. Okay. So again, that was a full-on segment on just Baker versus Goff, and we do this all the time. So it's nice to bring it back to life.
Baker versus Goff, and now we'll go to who would you rather?
Let's do Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy. We've done this already, and I would go Baker. Easy.
I think that I don't know what I said last time, but
I think we all said Baker. I'm pretty sure we all said Baker.
Yeah, I think I'll go with Baker.
Baker Mayfield or CJ Stroud?
Man, CJ Stroud, and that's only because of his physical attributes. I feel like CJ Stroud is being so big, tall, and athletic. If he used his legs more often, I think
I don't
the
think he
Texans'
has that
offense would
though.
be
I
more
don't think he has
successful.
that in him.
I think he's been coached out
I
of it.
don't.
I think that he has the
I
ability
think he's
to
been
do
coached out of it, but also I just don't think that's part of his game. Like he's not that dynamic. And maybe we're just talking over his sophomore slump, but I don't know.
I mean,
Like Baker
going into
literally
the
went
season,
through the lows of lows, so you can't like quantify
yeah.
it that way. I just think that Baker has shown me so much over the past 3 years that I'll take him over CJ.
The problem is I'm talking about CJ Stroud's potential versus what Baker is currently. And if that's what our conversation is about current play versus current play, I would take Baker over CJ Stroud. But Wasi and I hated Slowick. We thought Slowick was like the worst possible thing. But if I'm working off of potential only, give me CJ Stroud over Baker.
So if you're going off of what you've seen,
Okay,
Baker Mayfield or Justin Herbert?
Rather? Are we doing a defend Baker? No, what are we doing? You tell me. I will play.
So I saw last week during this segment that they were talking about this list.
We're doing it. Okay, we're doing it.
During this segment last week on ESPN, Orlovsky said that he would take Baker Mayfield over Justin Herbert because of the fact that it's always Justin Herbert can do this, can do this, can do this. Baker's actually shown it. So that has to quantify somewhat. I'm not saying I'm the Baker defender, and I'm not saying Baker over Justin Herbert.
I can't
However,
believe what Orlovsky
I think with
said,
CJ you can actually say it because I'm telling you, like that CJ hype year one, it was too much for me.
He was
like
great.
I did not see,
but he played.
He played well. He did not play great. Like he had games where he just went off, and then 12 out of the 16 fell off.
My problem is that Stroud in year one was such a different player than Stroud in year two. And we're judging him by defenses who had a year's worth of tape on him, right? And he was with a coordinator that wasn't really dynamic. He wasn't with a guy who knew how to play call properly. Wasi and I felt like his packages were quite simple, predictable, and I think that Stroud took a step back because of it. And his efficiency was so good that first year that I'm worried that people are going to discount Stroud just because of bad coaching. But he was very efficient when he had a great rookie year. He surpassed expectations. I mean, Stroud, yes, he was a second overall pick, but yes, CJ Stroud played as well as any QB in the league during certain stretches. Like, I get it. It wasn't consistent, but he at least wasn't turning the ball over. And when he was playing lights out. He was very efficient.
All right, let's rapid fire these. Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love?
Baker.
Going Baker. Let's do Baker Mayfield or Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. And that's because I just feel like Jaden Daniels has a very dynamic style of play. And we
Baker
only
or
have
Dak?
him 1 year.
I think I'm going Baker over Dak right now.
I answer that because coming off a hamstring injury.
Yeah, I mean,
Dak at his peak was an MVP candidate. I'm going to take Dak.
Dak at his peak was an MVP candidate 2 years ago. Baker just threw a 40 touchdown season, had one of the best seasons in the NFL. Played like a top 5 quarterback.
He played
it's tough
like a
because
top 5
it's also
QB
like
in some games.
you're also going into the season probably taking Baker over Dak. Like you probably think that Baker's going to have a better year than Dak. Unless you think that Dak is going to have a better year than Baker this year.
There's so much going on in Dallas that I can't fully believe what I'm saying here, but I will say that Dak has the ability to be an MVP candidate. Even though this is Baker's best year in his career, he didn't even finish in the top 5 in MVP. I don't even know if he had a single MVP vote. Like nobody could.
It was his best year of his career without his 2 top weapons for a majority of the season.
Sure, but I mean, we're going to discount
take that
Dak.
into consideration.
We're going to discount
Dak at CD. Dak at CD.
And Baker had
Dak's MVP year was with CD. No, come on.
Like we can't discount performance because Baker.
We're not discounting performance.
Like, that's a totally different situation. Yeah, we are. You're saying Dak had
on.
All these players. Okay,
Baker or Geno? Baker or Geno?
Baker.
That's Baker. Come on. Okay, this one. This is the last one because I think we've reached that point. Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts?
Baker. I didn't even think about that.
I think so as well. I think a lot of people would push back and disagree, but He's a better
What?
passer.
What are they?
Jalen
What
can
are they
do
disagreeing
more
about?
strength-wise, but he's just a better passer. And I think that you put
Think about it. Your
Baker.
quarterback has to exude his strength in order to be successful. That's not a winning combination. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, actually, hold on. It was a winning combination. The combination they won the Super Bowl.
Just won the Super Bowl.
But Jalen Hurts can throw the slant, throw an in route, throw a post. Those are his three throws. What the hell are we doing? Why are we overrating? Like when your offensive line can give you 5 yards off the snap every time, what are we worried about? He's not. He gets all the time in the world to throw. His only his only need throughout the entire game is to not make a mistake. And if it means pulling and running, Jalen will do that. If it means taking on the dirty work and taking a few extra tackles, Jalen will do that. But so will Baker. And Baker can make much more dynamic plays than Jalen can. I'm sorry, this is not even a conversation.
Man, you got Adil to defend
Baker.
Baker over Jalen Hurts. That's
I
how
like
bad it is right now
Baker.
with
I
Jalen
like
Hurts.
him. No, I don't dislike Jalen Hurts. He's good
Eagles
at doing
fans are
his
going to
job.
rip us for that one.
Jalen
All
Hurts
right.
is the Jared Goff of the Eagles. He's good at doing his job.
He's the
That's
Jared
disrespect
Goff
to Jared
of.
Goff, actually. I apologize, Lions fans. That's a disrespect to Jared Goff.
He's the Jared Goff of Jamarcus Russell's.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, last segment, real quick. We've spent way too much long on this episode already.
On Baker Mayfield.
We got the Mount Rushmore, one season wonder players. I'll kick us off. I'll have the next two picks. It'll be a snake draft, 4 picks each. A lot of times in the NFL, one season happens and you think this guy's an ascending superstar and then just completely falls off, whether it's bad play, poor performance, drugs, what a suspension, jail time, whatever. So I'm going to kick us off with one of the GOATs, the best 2-game stretch we've ever seen in our lives in 2013. This is Josh Gordon. Back-to-back 230-plus yard games with Brandon Whedon as his quarterback. And we always thought he was going to get back to it. When he went to the Patriots, when he went to the Chiefs, we were always like waiting for that time that he actually got with a good quarterback and he's just going to go crazy. But unfortunately, as Stephen A says, he did not stay off the weed.
What's crazy about that year is I think Josh Gordon had 1,600 yards on like 85 receptions or something like that. It was something pretty.
Yeah, 87.
87 receptions. Yeah, it was something pretty impressive. Like
Crazy.
they were like, throw that ball up, let Josh Gordon go get it. He was just not in his predicament, and I know that Josh Gordon had dealt with a lot of stuff in his life that led him to wherever he was. He literally was a Calvin Johnson type player. Well, people say that for a lot of players. Josh Gordon was the answer for that. Like, oh my God, like we were robbed of a great NFL career. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's your turn. You got 2 picks.
Is it me now? Okay. Slim pickings. And honestly, I don't remember too much about those one-hit wonders. But what comes to mind for me, and it's because literally it's like I started working and one of my first purchases ever was an Xbox 360. And listen to this, Madden 2011, or it must have been
12.
Yeah, I think 2012. Peyton Hillis, my guy. Peyton Hillis had 1,200 yards rushing, 61 receptions, 477 yards receiving. Peyton Hillis has never been able to recreate that ever again. Didn't even get a second contract. Peyton Hillis was one of the greatest one-year wonders ever.
Yeah. Who's your second guy?
Let's go off with, I'm it's just not even like a great season here, but we want to bring it up. I think we had discussed this beforehand. Tim Tebow's 2011 season, where he's taken the Broncos down every week to snatch a victory from like the jaws of defeat. And me and you were reminiscing, we were talking about it like, oh my God, that was a crazy. And then we were talking about that playoff game. Tebow to Demaryius Thomas over the middle for the 60 some odd yard touchdown. We looked up his stats, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Tebow that season went 7-4 with a 46.5% completion percentage. He had 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Why was this in our mind so much? As a great one-year wonder. He was terrible in that 1 year.
They're
and he
winning
still
games.
was a one-year wonder.
They're just winning games. I mean,
Right.
Against the Bears, Marion Barber decides to go out of bounds to keep time on the clock for Tebow to drive down the field and kick a game-winning field goal. It was crazy.
Crazy work.
Crazy. My second pick is going to be Justin Blackmon, who was one of the greatest receiving prospects we had the privilege of watching at Oklahoma State. He was drafted by the Jaguars, had 800 yards his first year, came onto the scene really hot, and then again, drugs, man. I think it was weed too, but he never came back to the NFL after 2013, and that was his career. But he was great in the year and a half basically that he played. Not even, I think he played like 18 games or something like that. My
We
second
need to
pick,
send out like a PSA to all like talented athletes. Just what do you prefer, money or drugs? Stay off the
yeah,
dope. Like
yeah,
just
or violence, and
wait
Quinshon
to the
Judkins.
second contract
Yeah,
and then do whatever the
yeah.
hell you want to do. Just get your bag at least. God, please just learn to like secure your future. Blow it on drugs for all I care afterwards, but at least get the second bag, the second contract.
My third guy is going to be a guy that the Bears drafted the year I was born. It was 1995 with the first overall pick in the first round. The Bears drafted Rashaan Salam, who was one of those like, you see those like obscure jerseys in the crowds and stuff that you go to like concerts or games. Just like,
Okay.
wow, it's a Rashaan Salam jersey. But he had 1,000 yards rushing, 10 TDs. He had another, I think like 3 touchdowns the rest of his entire career after 10 touchdowns in his first season, and just got into plenty of drugs, crime, all that stuff. And he could have been something great. He could have been a Bears legend, but now Bears infamy, as go many players actually. Unfortunately. All right, who are your final 2?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with, and I'm deciding where I want to end it. I'm gonna end it on a funnier note. So we're gonna go with Terrell Pryor as my third player. The
Fantasy
2016
legend.
season. 2016 season, he had converted to wide receiver, I believe, in the 2015 season. So the year before, he converted to wide receiver. He wasn't getting many looks. I think that the Browns were in desperation mode, as they always are, and they go out and they grab Terrell Pryor and put him out with the ones. 77 receptions and 1,000 yards later, Terrell Pryor put up one of the greatest seasons for a converted player from another NFL position group. However, we were yet to see that ever done again. Terrell Pryor has never been heard from since. The fourth guy who I have, now this is funny, but not funny haha, but funny womp womp. Matt Flynn showed out. It wasn't in a season, it was at the end of the season against the Lions. So the Lions were looking to, I think, secure the division against, not secure the division, I think secure a higher seed against, by going up against the Packers in the last game of the season. I think it was January 1st or 2nd. Matt Flynn decides to play spoiler. 180 yards and 6 touchdowns later, Matt Flynn's entire hype train began. He was given the bag in the offseason by the Seattle Seahawks, who had drafted Russell Wilson in that same offseason. Russell Wilson, as a third-round rookie, beat out Matt Flynn, and the legend of Russell Wilson began. So what Matt Flynn could have been is what Russell Wilson did become. But Matt
Yeah, at least he
Flynn,
got
you
his
beat out my
bag.
Lions. Matt Flynn, you got your bag. You beat out my Lions in a meaningless game for your team. But at least Stafford, because of that, got to 5,000 yards in the 11th season as well. So that was pretty
Literally one of the
cool.
most ridiculous games ever.
Yeah. Go
Backup
watch some
quarterback
highlights.
comes in, throws for 6 touchdowns. Crazy.
Unreal.
That is just wild. And my last guy, fantasy legend. And we've talked a lot about Browns players here. We're going to do it again. Gary Barnidge, tight end, 2015, had over 1,000 yards. And he had like 125 targets. The next season, he has like, I think 600 yards and nothing to show for it. I mean, it was just like that one year he played, had a great season. And it's like we said this earlier too. The Browns just passed the baton to some random to do well. So it goes Peyton Hillis, it goes Josh Gordon, then Gary Barnidge, then Terrell Pryor.
It's all within a
then just
4-year
like keep
span. That's just the funny part of this.
Isaiah Crowell is somewhere on that list as well.
The Browns are a funny organization, unironically. That's really
They
funny.
are. I think that's one of the best things as a Bears fan to just find solace in, is that like there are worse than you.
You know what's the worst thing I've ever seen in the NFL period? The Browns throwing a parade for going 0-16.
Corey Coleman drops the pass.
Oh my
man.
God.
But
The
yeah,
Browns.
that's
If you
gonna
ever
do
feel
it.
bad about your NFL team, think of the Browns. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
Go ahead. Take it from there.
Yeah. No, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you guys for watching. And for Adil, I'm Nadeem. We'll see you guys next time.